you have politicians understanding, and this was the major outcome, as far as I'm concerned, of COP28 in Dubai, where I was lucky enough to be a participant, is this recognition that agriculture is going to be a significant player in your nationally determined contributions. And for the viewers who are not au courant with all of these acronyms, your nationally determined contributions has to do with your ticket to the Green Climate Fund. This is your entrance ticket. Mm-hmm. Every couple of years, each country that is a signatory to the GCF has to produce these NDCs. In other words, you are telling the international community, this is what I'm doing about my common but differentiated responsibility. This is how I'm going to reduce my greenhouse gases. And Trinidad has put it out. I mean, a whole lot of, all the countries who are signatories have put them out, but very few of them have stressed the importance of agriculture as a means of increasing your mitigation efforts. And that is where I come in, and that is where funding through the GCF for national adaptation plans, and I'm lucky enough to have been the person who wrote the Water and Agriculture National Adaptation Plan for Trinidad and Tobago through the FAO, and we're currently working on other aspects of ways of finding the finance to really make a difference within the agriculture sector. So this is a message of not just hope, but of an appreciation of the significance of what agriculture can do for climate finance efforts. And sorry for the plug there, but
no. But Mr. Maxime, I'm curious to know.
Once I get a soapbox, it's kind of hard to kick me off first. So
no. It's absolutely fine, because you see, the thing is, I'm also curious to note that if I was to be specific, throughout the conversation, we've spoken of the Caribbean in general, and we've identified some examples, St. Lucia, but coming back to Trinidad, do we actually understand and appreciate how agriculture is important in regards to climate change?
Let me take off my diplomatic hat and say we do, but whether that is translated into consistent, and I'm choosing my words carefully now, consistent action might be debatable. Now, at the level of the Ministry of Planning and Development and so, the Kishan Kumar Singhs of this world, I mean, I think they understand it. Where I'm not sure, and I'm speaking from a level of ignorance now because I no longer reside in Trinidad physically, although I'm doing a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but I do some work in Trinidad as well. So that I don't want to make definitive statements, but let me put it this way. When I lived in Trinidad up to like 2015, I can see that they didn't get it. And that's as clear and blunt as I can be.
Mm-hmm. Now, that being the case, given your experience, are there, what are some examples of governments around the Caribbean that have initiated some sort of action or are pushing or pressing for this change?
Okay, I think the example that will come up most forcibly will be St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Not only have they appreciated what climate smart agriculture, a genuine, comprehensive climate smart agriculture can do in terms of the NDCs, but I don't know if you mentioned it in the introduction, but I've been appointed, if you like, as the climate change advisor for the Minister of Agriculture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Saboto Caesar, so that I accompanied him to COP. And I can tell you that as the pro tempore presidency of CELAC, for those of your viewers who are not, au courant with all these regional groupings, CELAC is somewhat bigger than CARICOM because it includes a number of Latin American countries. And St. Vincent and Grenadines is the pro tempore presidency until March. And it was under that rubric that the Minister of Agriculture in St. Vincent and Grenadines appointed me as his climate change advisor. We went up to their conference in Dubai. And with that backing, if you like, because remember, but you may or may not know that Brazil and some of these larger countries are members of CELAC as well. So when you speak there as a representative of CELAC, you're carrying a fair amount of weight. So I can tell you that there are countries in the region independent countries, and especially the OECS grouping. I mean, it is no accident that I now live in Grenada. I think it's common knowledge that the OECS took agriculture more seriously than we take it in Trinidad for a number of reasons, not least of which is the fact that, in terms of the contribution to GDP, and so it is not as significant as in some of the other countries. And that, as I said, without naming names and blaming blame, I think that would be a perfect example of one of the countries. Guyana would be another very significant one as well. Now I'm lucky enough to have worked and to continue to work in Guyana, over the last 3 decades or so, and I can tell you that they take it seriously, right? And with the new 25 by 2025 initiative, which, without boring your viewers, is part of our import substitution regime for CARICOM, where we are saying that we are going to replace 25% of the imports of food by 2025, which remarkably is next year. So if we're not cracking on it now, we have to get cracking on it soon. And I'm saying that all of this is tied up into our responses, and that have to be funded. And that is where climate finance comes in. Because I can put my head on a block and tell you that very little funding is available internationally that isn't tied to climate. And that, I'm not really subjecting myself to any correction on that. If you do not have a climate dimension to your financial proposals these days, it's dead in the water.